This video is brought to you by Kobo. Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host Daniel Green, and today we have an update on my book. Yes, the books are being sent out, and I've seen you all on Twitter and Instagram. You're getting your neon ghosts, and I'm so happy about it. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But on top of that, if you have been looking to get your hands on a copy of Neon Ghosts, didn't necessarily want to back the Kickstarter or get the extra bonus content in there, you just want a physical copy of my book, it is now available on shop.wraithmark.com. The reason we're not putting it on Amazon is Wraithmark is a company that has pretty thin margins because they print in higher quality. They don't just overseas it to places where it's really cheap without being mean. And Amazon can take up to as much as 30% when a book is sold. So we check out through Shopify, an app I'm sure we're all familiar with, but just go to shop.wraithmark.com and yeah, you can pick up a copy of Neon Ghosts here too, or check out the audiobook. And the next Kickstarter for my re-release of the first two Lawful Times books, re-edited and put into one Supreme Deluxe Definitive Edition. That Kickstarter is going live soon, and you can get notified by following the link in the description down below. But now, into our first piece of news, still from Wraithmark, actually, because their Kickstarter for Rage of Dragons is live, a book that is near and dear to my heart here on the channel, one of the first indie books I ever picked up, and is a large part of the reason why we continue to promote indie books on the channel. Evan Winter proved to me that indie authors can not only be good, but great. And so if you would like to get a long overdue deluxe edition, I can personally guarantee that Wraithmark is going to be one of the best on the market ever. And again, congratulations to Evan Winter for going through the self-pub process, getting picked up by Orbit, and continuing to be an author who gives advice to so many when it comes to how to find success in the indie scene. He's a golden path for us to follow, and a big shout out to Evan. But that brings us to our first cover reveal of the day, because we had the cover revealed for Interstellar Megachef by Lavanya, dyslexia, Lakshminarayan. Kayla, can you help me? You're bilingual. I need you. How do you say this last name? Lakshminarayan. Thank you so much. I love bilingual people.
You mean this literally, I take it?
This book will be released November of 2024 and is described as feast your eyes upon the deliciously delightful cover of Interstellar Megachef with cover art by Sam Gretton. Think The Great British Bake Off in space. Yeah, no. That got Kayla and I's attention. We're both Great British Bake Off hoes. And the cover, I think fairly intentionally, is giving like Major Douglas Adams vibes, so neat. I love me some absurdist science fiction. But if you are a Cosmere fan, you probably do not want to miss our first major look at the upcoming brotherwise made Mistborn Deckbuilding game. I am fully going to admit, as someone who just in the last year has gotten into Magic the Gathering, I do not have too much to say on these. Aside from just the art and design absolutely flows with what we've seen from the Cosmere before, I'm not entirely sure what can I infer from these combat elements that are in here. So anyone who might be a bit more familiar with like the consistent features of various deck building games and stuff, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. This is unfortunately a bit of a gap of knowledge for me. But this takes us to our first very serious piece of fantasy news this week. We have received an update for the ongoing lawsuit between Hachette and the Internet Archive. And this came from a blog post from the Internet Archive where they have once again reinstated in their final brief before this actually gets picked up. Today, the Internet Archive has taken a decisive final step in our ongoing battle for libraries' digital rights by submitting the final appellate reply brief in Hachette v. Internet Archive. I tried to read through the 40-page legal jargon official statement, but I found that the actual statement they've put for the public at the bottom of this blog post does a better job than I probably would of summarizing it all. So we have an actual note from Brewster Kahl, founder and digital librarian of the Internet Archive. Resolving this should be easy. Just sell ebooks to libraries so we can own, preserve, and lend them to one person at a time. This is a battle for the soul of libraries in the digital digital age. This process has taken nearly 4 years to work through the legal system, and in that time, we've often fielded the question, why should I care about this lawsuit? By restricting libraries' ability to lend books they own digitally, the publisher's license-only business model and litigation strategies perpetuate inequality in access to knowledge. Throughout this legal battle, Internet Archive has remained steadfast in our mission to defend the core values of libraries, preserve access and education. This fight is not just about protecting the Internet Archive's digital lending program, it's about standing up for the digital rights of all libraries and ensuring that future generations have equal access to the wealth of knowledge contained within them. Now, this of course comes after the publishers filed a brief opposing the Internet Archive's appeal in this case, and it's unfortunately something we're going to have to see play out in the courts. It's a complex issue. I personally side on the side of the Internet Archive. Surprise! The Internet Archive's assisting the judge in the previous case misunderstood the law when it came to what exactly they're trying to preserve and maintain the distribution of. But the last statement I've actually been able to find from Hatchet's legal team, from Terrence Hart, their general counsel, was, the publisher, plaintiffs, and AAP community stand behind the district court's clear opinion on the case, establishing that the Internet Archive's industrial-scale formatting shifting activities constitutes copyright infringement, consistent with ample other precedents that defines the clear boundaries of fair use and first sale provisions.
Deborah and Susan, please pay attention.
So yeah, there are big names at play here, and this is a complex issue. I know where I side on it. I'm always kind of fighting for libraries in my little heart, but I understand that corporations and money is gonna money. So where do you fall on this rather complex topic? Let me know in the comments down below, and please keep any discussion civil. But in some more fun pew-pow slash news, we got an update from I always want to call them Leandrin from Wheel of Time. That's not right. We got an update from Larian Studios from the last episode of Fantasy News where we actually covered them, and it looks like they're going to be trying to shift towards their own original IP. There was some question in the last episode of Fantasy News about whether or not they would be attached to a gargantuan existing one or do something themselves. Well, we have gotten that answer, and I was actually previously in favor of them launching onto a grand fantasy epic we all know and love, like Powder Mage or something, and going there. But the comments kind of convinced me otherwise, and seeing them have complete control on whatever system and IP they're going to be developing when we've seen such a talented creative team before is really exciting. So thank you for changing my mind, comments, and yeah, looking forward to see whatever they will do next, now that we know it's definitely not going to be Baldur's Gate. And then finally, in the opposite of shocking news, it looks like the Witcher series is going to come to a close after season 5.
Fuck.
And I know it has been a rocky road for this show. It does still have its fans, and I would like to just say to anyone who happens to be watching who was involved in the show in any way, shape, or form, it's really impressive to get to a season 5, no matter how many speed bumps you hit along the way. I personally didn't love the show till its end. I think I stopped watching at season 3, but it's commendable that this effort was made, and I hope we can all learn some lessons from it and look back on it fondly in years to come. Right? And I'm at least curious to see what Liam Hemsworth's Geralt's going to be in season 4. We're going to get 2 seasons of his, so maybe it will like win over fans, and this could be a pretty cool ending. Here's to being optimistic. But if I haven't satiated you with delicious book covers yet, don't worry, because we got 3 more coming from the Broken Binding for Any Weir fans. If you're a fan of The Martian Artemis or Project Hail Mary, it looks like Broken Binding is going to be coming out with a set that might be my new favorite Broken Binding covers. These look great. I just need to see if the Malazan Complete set is going to overtop it. That's the only reason you hear any hesitation in my voice. But for now, this is my favorite Broken Binding set. Extraordinarily well done to whoever your art director is. And to the artist, Ray Mullen, I didn't have words. Did you see that? I tried to think of a word and my brain stopped. That's how impressive I am. impressed I was. Jesus. And once again, for Cosmere fans and Wheel of Time fans, I'm happy to say that both series were just represented in Forbes' 30 greatest book series of all time list. And this wasn't even a specifically fantasy sci-fi tailored list, though notably it was quite heavily stacked with those genres. And we saw several other notable entries as well, and I'll go over some of the placements for those sci-fi fantasy greats now. Kicking off the list at number 30, we had The Expanse by James S.A. Corey, the author duo, and that's honestly a little low in my opinion, but I respect it being here in any way, shape, or form. We had Southern Reach at 29, Mistborn at 28, the Red Rising Saga at 27, hell yeah! The Bartimius Trilogy at 25, the Kingkiller Chronicles at 24, Rhyria Revelations at 23, Witcher at 22, the Bulgarian at 21, Earthsea Cycle at 20, Goosebumps at 18, Dresden Files at 17, Percy Jackson at 16, the Foundation series at 14, Hitchhiker's Guide at 13, His Dark Materials at 12, hell yeah, Kayla! Woo! Dark Tower at 11, Wheel of Time at 10, Discworld at 9, Song of Ice and Fire at 8, Outlander at 7, 50 Shades at 6, which I didn't notice on my pass through of this list. That is a choice you are legally allowed to make. The Hunger Games at 5, Twilight at 4, The Chronicles of Narnia at 3, Lord of the Rings at 2, and Harry Potter at 1. And upon re-examination of this list, and by that I mean actually fully scrolling through to see where everything was aside from just Wheel of Time and Mistborn, it's got some good inclusions. It's completely in the wrong order, and overall I'd give a D+. I'll give it a D+. It's a D+ of a list. I'm much more disappointed by this going through it than I thought I'd be. Ugh. Spitting in the face of that, though, we also had the Folio Society release their summer catalog for 2024, which, notably for me at least, included Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell and Song of Achilles. And I really just want to use this as an excuse to recommend Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I see a lot of people asking for like classic-inspired fantasy, meaning like the era, and I think this is probably the best modern example of that, at least I've come across in recent years, that also includes a bunch of great LGBTQ plus representation. All right, put down your tiny pitchforks. I'll talk about it. We've gotten the first full-length trailer for the upcoming Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game. And I'm seeing very mixed reaction to this. Some people seem to just be excited to spend some time in the Shire with some great music, growing some crops, and going to some parties. And I don't blame those people, because that's pretty much the only thing the game showed us. Others are questioning the art style, which you can argue is trying to be like intentionally a specific way, but I would say these character models look rough, and I'm still not seeing a whole lot of what to do aside from just like basic fishing mechanics. I'm not saying this is gonna be bad, and I'm not immediately just like totally out, but I will note that this feels like, to me, it should have been released like a decade ago. It just seems like late to the part. That's rather Hobbit appropriate though. Maybe this has all been a marketing strategy. But if we're talking about Lord of the Rings and video games, that takes us so smoothly into our next story, where Embracer Group, the company that currently owns a lot of the IP rights for producing Lord of the Rings products, is apparently going to be splitting into 3 different companies: Osmodi Group, Coffee Stain and Friends, and Middle-earth Enterprises and Friends, with one of those clearly being now dedicated to just making Lord of the Rings games with the IP rights they have not been given, they purchased. And I really am not entirely sure how I feel about this. Hopefully it means we see a higher caliber of Lord of the Rings output with a greater focus in the future, though I'm not exactly gonna be holding my breath for that. And this video is made in partnership with Kobo. I'm well aware that we just did a review of a Kobo v Kindle here on the channel. I want to make it absolutely apparent that that video was conceptualized and written before we actually had a relationship with Kobo. It was actually when I had to scrap the video and redo it because they released their new line and we got in touch with Kobo. Let me put it this way. If you're going to be afraid that I have a conflict of interest promoting Kobo now, just be aware that my dislike of Kindle is of far greater concern than the fact that they have agreed to do a charity project with me, because I pretty much made it clear in my like review write-up email with them that I was like, you guys don't get to affect this at all. I'm gonna be be honest. But yes, this video is brought to you by Kobo and their two new products, the Kobo Libra Color and the Kobo Clara Color. And these are the first major e-readers in the market that are able to display manga and comics in all of their glory, and book covers and stuff like that, which just kind of makes a nicer experience. See, that looks pretty good. It also comes with Bluetooth technology, so you can also use it to listen to your books. And if you are one of those individuals, unlike myself, who enjoys using a stylus to highlight and draw within their books, I'm currently dating someone who takes a ridiculous amount of notes in their books. This will allow you to stop filling up all them pages. Kayla, my God. And instead, they have all kinds of notebook features built into the device, so you can keep it clean and organized in one location. And an evil boyfriend can't come through and just pull out one random tab that you'll never be able to find the spot for. I just really did that, Kayla. I'm so sorry. They even included that this thing is waterproof for 60 minutes, up to 3 feet of water. Oh, that's for parents. I just realized that's for parents who have a kid who would go thunk it out. With built-in support for being able to hook into a library card, you also are not restricted like some other ecosystems may try to do to you with a Kobo, and this can become your ultimate e-reader experience on the beach, in bed, on a walk, however you decide to use it. Just be sure to check out the link in the description down below and give Kobo a try. That way you don't have to support certain real-world supervillains. Back to the video. But we're gonna go ahead and finish on off this fantasy news with 2 beats of quickie news. 1, yes, Fallout has been renewed for a season 2 over at Prime, and I'm really excited to see that. I thought season 1 was solidly good, and I think season 2 has been set by season 1 to have a really good chance of being great. And I'm hoping I'm right there. And then finally, calling back to earlier in the video when we had some Andy Weir news, the Ryan Gosling Project Hail Mary adaptation, which has been given a release date of March 20th of 2026, which is well off, and I would be a little cautious to see that probably move a bit in the meantime. But if you're a giant Andy Weir fan, I bestow upon thee a good bit of knees news, but slant rhymed to knees. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and I'm happy to say you can just go to shopwraithmark.com and pick up a copy of Neon Ghost through Shopify without any additional hurdles through the links in the description down below. And a big thank you to Kobo for sponsoring today's video and agreeing to pay me by doing a bunch of charity together. More about that coming soon. I'm really excited to show you what we're doing here in Boston. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.